All right, back at it today. We have a 2009 Suzuki Swift Sport. So what we're going to be doing today is a bit of a weird one. Customer is actually getting a somewhat of a, you would call pre-purchase inspection. It's not really that, it's more of a pre-inspection because he's going to sell this vehicle to a friend of his. Now, the reason I say it's kind of a bit different is because 99% of the time the actual customer will do the pre-purchase inspection, but it goes to show this dude selling it is actually one of these people who give a shit about giving the car to his friend in good condition and not just a piece of shit fall apart. So he already knows, and I've worked on this car before, it's got a couple of little problems here, there, this, that, the other, but the reality is we want to make sure that this is reliable, number one, so starts, runs, drives, stops, safe to be on the road, this kind of thing. Obviously this car being a 2009, so you know what I mean, it's going to be 15, 16, maths is off, but either way, a little bit old. You're not expecting a brand new car, the paint ain't going to be perfect, but let's check it out. So here's the beast. Again, this is the Sport, the 16-inch alloy wheels. Also, if you didn't know, these are bigger brakes than your standard 1.5 litre. Being the 1.6 litre, a little bit more power. I think it's got like 100 kilowatts. Like, these things are actually pretty fun little cars to drive. But again, we're here to check out the vehicle and see what sort of condition it's in. We changed the belts on these, didn't we? Was this the car we did, or did we do a different car?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Because this was squeaking.
Yeah.
Is it? It's not squeaking anymore?
No.
Yeah. All right, so what we're looking for, straight up, we're just going over the vehicle, seeing if we can't see anything that stands out, that's obvious in terms of oil leaks, worn belts, any kind of damage in the suspension. Obviously these headlights a little bit hazy, we can give them a clean at some point, but again, we're kind of going for the old reliability and check in what's going on in terms of maybe something will cause a bigger issue in the future. So having a look now, straight up, it's had an oil leak for a while and it just looks like it's coming from the cam cover gasket here. So you can see down there, there's quite a bit of oil all around here and over here, and this earth wire here needs to be bolted back up. All right, so we can see some oil leaks. I actually serviced this car probably less than 6 months ago, I think. So what we'll do is I'm going to check the oil level to see how much has dropped considering there is a leak, and then we can kind of gauge how bad everything is.
Fuck your car.
I hear, man. I hear, man. All right, let's check this oil level out. So it's still pretty full. You haven't topped this up, eh? So it's actually a little bit, I remember, if you can see here, it's actually a touch overfilled. Now the reason I did that was because this had leaks. So we planned for the vehicle to get cleaned in terms of the engine bay to then assess where the leaks are coming from. We never ended up actually doing that. So it doesn't look like it's really dropped that much. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna clean it and then from there, re-inspect what's going on, because he's not gonna sell this vehicle for another month. So that will give us plenty of time to see if it is leaking again. Looking for any other major problems in terms of like coolant leaks, this, that, the other. Coolant level is full. Again, I did service this and it's not dropped, so that's a really good sign. And so everything is looking pretty good in the engine bay. Again, we're going to give everything a clean. I'll take it for another spin at some point later on in the video, but we'll check out the suspension and see what's going on there. So we're looking at the strut top mount here. I'm going to push the car up and down, see if there's a lot of play through this. Again, because it's a Sport, these are quite a stiff suspension compared to the standard. As you can see, that's pretty solid. But what obviously I'm going to do is jack the vehicle up. I'm going to test wheel bearing play, we're going to test rack end play, we're going to feel the tie rods, we're going to see if there's any excessive movement in any of the suspension, but we'll look at the brakes really quick. So checking these brakes, they are in very good condition. A little bit difficult to show you, but these pads are got like 80% meat, probably even more. So they've definitely been changed in the last 12 months. So let's check the back out. Now, these ones have been on a little bit longer, but as you can see there is a shitload of meat on them. Keep in mind this vehicle is still driven daily and is registered, so the upkeep has been pretty good on it, but we'll check the tires out real quick. Is the date here. So this is the 6th week of 2023. Now the reason that's important is because you could have a tire with a shitload of tread on it, but if it's like 10 years old, they're rock hard, they do not perform well on the wet, so this is a really good sign. Not to mention they have just a ton of meat on them. I mean, there is the wear indicator, so we are all good there. Doing a bit of storytelling to me customer about a couple of pre-purchase inspection I did. So anyway, this guy contacted me back. I recommended him buy a Navara, well, a Triton off a customer he wanted me to go look at it for, or I should say a seller. And he was like, he called me a year and a half later and he's like, hey, you recommended buy this car. And I thought, fuck, it's blown up, hasn't it? And he goes, I love it. I want you to help me buy another one. Ended up going to look at a Swift, and this guy wanted so much money for it. And this thing was, I actually have a couple of videos on the channel about it if you want to check it out. Fucked. And I told him, no. I'll tell people when not to buy. I can't, for liability purposes, say, yeah, 100% buy it, but I'll give them a really good feeling like, I think it's pretty good, you know what I mean? Anyway, he didn't get that one. Ended up buying this Nissan Tita, which I did a video on it, you can check out here. And he messaged me the other day, man, thank you so much, again, blah, 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 because he lives in New South Wales, so he couldn't get here to look at it, so he needed someone on the ground he could trust to do it. And I said, man, look, it all adds up. She's had it for like 4 years, she's got logbooks, you know, a couple of cosmetic things here and there, maybe a slight oil leak, but at the end of the day, I gave the thing a good drive and doesn't smoke, doesn't overheat. Yeah, so we bought it, so we were stoked on that. That's why pre-purchase inspections are very important if you don't know what you're looking at. Trust me when I say I've looked at literally over 1,000 cars, working on them, worth every penny, if you got the right guy, of course. I probably will pull this wheel off just to give you a better look at the brakes, or maybe I can give you a better look through here. But what we're doing is, a lot of the time on these smaller little hatchbacks, if the strut top is blown out, if something like this has happened, you'll be able to feel it straight away, which is what I felt when I was explaining a couple other videos ago about this other Swift. But what we're going to do is we're going to check for rack and play like this. As you can see, there is none. I'll chuck a video here of what really bad rack and play looks like. So from there, it's all good, no problems there, solid. Plus, if you were driving it, and remember, the part about this video is, this guy selling it wants me, and this isn't a roadworthy, he wants me to look at it to make sure the person he's selling it to has a safe, reliable car, which is unheard of, which just shows the guy's got a good character. So from there, you want to check out the wheel bearing play. So you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. These shocks are extremely tired. To be able to move it like that with this spring, this is, now again, this is why you jack the car up to have a look, because you can't just tell from looking up the top unless it's really bad, but it's not the strut top that is doing this, it's the actual shock. The reason I mentioned this is because the customer, before I came here, explained to me, he said, hey, when I'm driving out, it's like the shock is bottoming out and it's scraping on something kind of thing. So I can see there's a hole in the liner here from where something's obviously been rubbing, which is the wheel, because it's the only thing it can be. To do this is no good. The shock is essentially done, probably even blown out. Normally there'll be a bit of oil, unless it's like just a gas strut, but so I don't know if these are original. It's hard to tell. If they're blue, let me know in the comments if blue shocks mean that they're standard on a Suzuki Sport, but yeah, that is too much. So they're really, really, really soft and probably aren't doing much anymore. But anyway, let's look underneath. The car, as you can see, quite a bit of oil. Again, we'll need to clean all this and locate what the hell's going on because that oil level didn't drop, but yeah. Don't get it twisted, that ain't a loose sump plug, that's just oil friggin' coming from up here somewhere. Lower control arm bush looks sweet. Obviously you can get a pry bar in there on the front one. Tie rod end, there's a split net. I'll just check for how much play though. The tie rod end itself is pretty solid. Doesn't feel to have much play, although it's ripped. Anyway, everything down the back there looks pretty good. Doesn't look like to have any exhaust leaks. Light it up before. Everything's pretty straight underneath. The oxygen sensors are very common to fail on these, so both of them have been replaced earlier. All right, so as you saw, underneath ain't too bad. The main thing is the oil leaks and those shocks. We need to work out what's going on with those leaks, so just got to give it a good clean. The easiest way to do this is to go to the car wash, hit it with the high pressure soap hose and just make everything spotless. Now obviously don't spray all the electrics and battery area, but make it all clean, and from there cruise around, because again he's going to own this for another month and he's selling it, I assume, to like a family friend or a friend, so it's not like anything weird's going to happen in regards to oil levels dropping, because once it's cleaned we'll know before he sells it. Anyway, have a look over the rest of the vehicle, and by that I mean come check the back out. With this here, it has been peeled off, but this is technically a vision impairment for the roadworthy thing, so you can just rip this off, no big deal. So having a look up the back here, look, these rear shocks are also quite soft, being on there for however long. They are a Munro strut though, so it's one of those situations where perhaps at some point it's been changed, or because it's a sport they come with it. I'd be guessing if I say I knew, but everything else on the here looks pretty solid. Obviously give the wheel a bit of a spin, a bit of a shake for any wheel bearing play. Not uncommon for these Swifts to have rear wheel bearings go. So, rear wheel's jacked up. Can't really hear anything. You can hear the brakes just touching slightly. Not too bad there. You won't really, there's no tie rod ends or anything there, but a few different positions. This is just what I mean by it's a little bit soft. So it's one of those ones where I have a better feel when it's back on the ground. I'll see what's going on, but other than that, up the back, seems pretty sweet. Again, these are a light vehicle, so you expect the suspension to be light. Like that's like literally, that's like literally not even pushing like 10%, so. That was the thing he was complaining about though. He was saying, I think the shocks are like really tired, they're sitting really low, it keeps bottoming out. So to get a visual on it is a good confirmation sign that, hey, we're not just going to be throwing money away for no reason. Even kind of see now it is sitting quite low, but I'll take it for a spin, see how it feels as well. Now, pretty much all the major things are checked because, like I said, this is a daily driver by the customer, so we're not really worried about clutches slipping, gearbox problems, low compression, and we know it's not overheating. We know it's not got any of those kind of issues, because again, why would someone do a pre-purchase inspection for the person who's going to buy it if they were going to try and sell a shitbox? They wouldn't. So obviously it's pretty sweet. So we'll go for a spin, check some stuff out. In terms of cosmetically, I don't really, you know, I'm not here to look at this kind of stuff, and the person who's buying it can have a look. It's got black paint, you know what I mean? Like the roof's wrapped. What more do you want to know about it? So they can look at all that stuff. I'm just here to make sure that the car will be half decent when they pick it up. All right, so we are in the cockpit. Everyone's favorite word. We'll go over seatbelts and all the rest of it, make sure they all retract properly later, but having a visual look, seats are in pretty good nick. The gear shifter actually has the Wonder Reverse on it, which Again, very, very minor things, but people will pull you up on roadworthies for that. Steering wheel a little bit torn. Not too bad. Actually, with this one, you could probably just peel off this fabric and then it'll be fine. So you got no issues there. Also, while I was under there, I was looking for engine mounts, this kind of stuff, but everything seems to be good there. This thing has 314,000 kilometers on it. So that's what I mean. You're not getting a perfect car, but that does not mean that these can't be reliable. So we'll go for a spin. Because the front shocks are a bit average, that's why when he's coming off that drop, it is behaving a bit incorrectly. As in, it's literally just falling as low as it can, and it has absolutely no rebound. So that's what you expect. And I mean, it's so bad that I can just spin the actual spring around in the shock. So it's one of those ones. Another one, check for any cracks, chips, issues with the windscreen. Doesn't really look like there's anything. There might be a slight chip there, but we can inspect that later. Like I said, there's nothing really much to these cars. They're literally like from the front back, just like a go-kart. It's like an axle up the back that's got two wheels that spin. So it's nothing too complicated there, but the more I drive this over every bump, yeah, you can hear it. Hold on, have a listen. Yeah, there you go. It's just completely, yeah, the fronts are just completely gone. Need to be changed. Good thing about these cars are, at least the standard ones, they're just such cheap parts to get. I really like these Swifts. They're such good little runabout cars, really reliable, timing chained engines. Yeah, even after all this time, 300,000 Ks, they just keep ticking, so that should tell you enough, eh? Check the horn. That works. Again, that is a roadworthy thing. So going about 40, we'll do a little brake test. 3, 2, 1. Yep, the brakes are working. Punchy little car. Like, it definitely picks up. Everything sounds pretty good. Doesn't seem to have any weird sounds come from anywhere, just a bit of knocking. AC's nice and cold. We'll go one more brake test, a little bit quicker this time. Yeah, these brakes are good. We don't have to worry about that. Other than that, this seems like a friggin', you know, good little car. I mean, it's gonna feel like a different vehicle with new shocks, you know what I mean? Like, makes a massive difference when you hear that, when it's not just bottomed out. So that's what we got to do. But that will be for another video. So I'll take the car back to the guy now, break everything down to him. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Check out the other stuff. If you're in the Brisbane, Gold Coast, Ipswich area, hit up this Facebook page if you want to get in contact with me. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.